flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor.
Subscribed, at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. There's a handy QR code up top that'll take you to our link tree, which you can subscribe to our YouTube and follow our Instagram. It is very much appreciated, as well as here. If you're watching right now, please hit that like button. Boost us up in the algorithm, get us out to a larger audience. It really helps us out here at Ball and Buds, and we can really appreciate it. It is free to give a like, so thank you. All right, let's kick this bad boy off. Moving into the new week. We just came from Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to all you lovers out there that celebrate. I'm single, ready to mingle. But single, so I don't celebrate right now, and that's okay. Don't need to spend the money. Don't need to do any of the chocolate and flowers. No, I can wait. That's cool. But if you're single and ready to mingle, make sure you hit me up in the DMs, ladies. All appreciated. You can hit me up anywhere. You can find me anywhere. But no, for real, hope y'all enjoyed your happy Valentine's Day with your boo. Hope it was a great time for you all. Happy President's Day as well. Why do we celebrate President's Day? Well, let me give you a little back history, as I am wont to do on this program. You know, I like to learn y'all a little bit of things since I am the professor. February 15th, 1798, First Lady Abigail Adams was the wife of President John Adams, wrote to her sister in a letter that she could not, I'm going to paraphrase. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just say her words. It's Old English. So they are about to celebrate not the birthday of the first magistrate of the Union as such, but of General Washington's birthday. She was proclaiming that it's not good to celebrate an individual's birthday in a new republic, and that they should be celebrating, momentous events, Independence Day, things of that nature. Now, nowadays, we have so many damn holidays, it don't even matter. There's a holiday for every damn day of the year. So it really doesn't matter anymore. But that's what it started off was a celebration of George Washington's birthday. So originally celebrated on February 22nd, the day George Washington was born. And this is because in Britain, they used to, when obviously America and Britain split apart, they used to still celebrate the king's birthday, the monarchs and stuff. But Abigail Adams felt that we should not do that in this country. I agree. So it was moved to the third Monday in February in 1971 and is now celebrated as President's Day. So to encompass all 45 presidents we've had since, wait, no, that can't be true now. A couple have been elected twice, probably around the 40 mark, I would say. But anyways, so Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act back then in 1971, and it was to move some of the federal holidays to Monday so that federal workers and most people, not everybody gets off, unfortunately, but some of the people could have a 3-day weekend. So shout out to the government for at least having the foresight to get that right. Not that they get a lot of things right, but at least they got that right. So again, I guess, we celebrate the things that presidents have done it is a hard job to be president, must admit. It's not easy to be the leader of the free world. And we'll talk a little bit later about the leader of the free world right now, President Donald Trump, as we do weekly, because you have to talk about him weekly. He is the president of the United States. So we'll give our weekly update on where he's at. Before we do that, and before we get into some entertainment news, we're also going to talk Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary celebration. We'll also talk in world news, the Israel and Gaza ceasefire. We'll update you there. But first, we're going to start in sports. We've got a huge weekend of sports that we just had, probably the last huge weekend until March Madness starts next month, so get ready for a little bit of a dead period in the sports world. Thank you, Mom, my director. Excuse me. Words are hard this evening. Appreciate you. It wasn't there first, but that was my fault. All right, so first off, happy birthday. We'll get into the NBA All-Star game. Happy birthday to Michael Jordan. His birthday is today, the greatest player to ever play basketball, not LeBron. So all you LeBron people out there on the jock strap, I'm going to need you to back it on up. You're probably too young anyways to know the greatness of Michael Jordan. But MJ over LeBron in the GOAT debate, it's not even a debate at this point anymore, especially after LeBron sat out of the All-Star game last night. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. We'll talk a little bit about that a little later as well. But first, some news headlines. Shout out and congratulations to William Byron, who won the Daytona 500. Yes, NASCAR's annual Super Bowl for them. William Byron, there was a huge crash, pretty crazy late stages of the race there, but shout out to him for winning the Daytona 500. Ugandan runner Jacob Kiplimo, get this. Just yesterday, Sunday, he ran a half marathon in 56 minutes and 42 seconds. Wowzers. Holy cannolis, that's fast. It demolished the previous world record by 48 seconds, which is crazy. But they say it was because he had pristine conditions, 55 degrees, which I guess is pristine for runners because you don't want to heat up too much with it being too hot. I used to run in the military and I would run to work out, but I don't run for fun like a runner would. But I assume that's why that's probably the perfect temperature. No rain, no condensation, things like that, dry. Anyways, he averaged 4:19 per mile. So 4 minutes and 19 seconds per mile over the whole race, which a half marathon, obviously 13.2 there. But that is still crazy. We saw the Eagles just blow out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Imagine if the Eagles had blown them out by double the score. That's what this is akin to. This is just crazy how much they beat the record by. Shout out, Flo. Appreciate you, my brother. Again, y'all make sure you tune into the Bottom Line Sports tomorrow night, 8 p.m. All right. Now, moving in. One more thing before we move into our rankings. Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker. I had not brought this up on the show before, even though the allegations had came out, because I don't like to bring things up on my shows right when allegations come out, because obviously allegations can be false, and these still can be, because he completely and vehemently denies all of the accusations. But just yesterday, the Baltimore Banner, shout out to everybody in the DMV, has accused him of 7 more allegations coming from Baltimore massage therapist. So Baltimore area, massage therapist. That now brings this to 16 different massage therapists that have come out in these allegations. Now, again, I do not like to say anything about allegations too early, but these are allegations only. I want to make sure I stress that, and that he has said that he denies all of it. And so I hope that he is telling the truth in his case. But we saw what happened with Deshaun Watson, and I can probably think at this point, at this point, I think we can all agree that since he's had over 20 charges, where there's smoke, there's fire, is what some people would say. Again, I'm not going to make any conclusive judgments. That's not for me to decide. That's for courts to decide. But a lot of people say where there's smoke, there's fire. And so when these allegations come out, and there's especially so many of them, you have to think, okay, well, is there some validity to what is being brought up here? So again, I hope it's not. Pray for not only the women, but also his sake that it's not. But we'll see, and I'll keep you updated on the show. Moving on into our college rankings, because there's not going to be any pro rankings this week. NHL is in a 4 nations tournament. We'll talk about that in a second. NBA had their All-Star game weekend this weekend. We'll definitely talk about that in a second. So only college rankings this week. And so what I wanted to do personally here, it will show you this weekend a couple things came down the pipe when it comes to college sports. The women on the women's side of the NCAA, they released their top 16. So they released their top 16, while on the other side of things, the men have released a top ranking, excuse me, not a top ranking, a bracket of the top 16 teams as well. So one did a bracket, the other did a different one. But I'm going to go ahead and show you both of them here, and you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about in terms of what is the seeding looking like as we are actually getting into March Madness. Because remember, March Madness is coming right down the pipe next month. So we need to be aware of where the seedings are, especially for those of y'all who plan on betting or plan on doing any March Madness brackets or things of the like. I'm going to give you a quick glimpse into all of that right now. So, first of all, on the women's side, you already know who it is. The UCLA Lady Bruins. Yes, my Lady Bruins took an L to FUSC. Yes, they took that L. I don't like USC, as you know, on this program. We do not like the Trojan condoms here. But one thing I can tell you is Juju Watkins is a beast. Yes, Juju Watkins, I repeat again, is a beast. She went off for 38. I think it was like 38, 12, and 11 or something like that. Anyway, she was balling all over us. So shout out to her. They deserve that win. But UCLA is still in the number one ranking position. You can see that right here on your right side with the top 16, Lauren Betts there in the picture. I had this correct the first time, and there we go. A little bigger for you. Right here on the right side, you see Lauren Betts in the picture. UCLA is at the number one position. Also at number 2, South Carolina, who took a loss this weekend as well, a really big loss at home to UConn. So Paige Beckers, Gino Auriemma, they got a freshman there named Sarah Strong. She's a beast. They are coming up in the rankings, and they just upset the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks at home. And not only was it an upset, but it was a blowout of an upset. At number 3, the Lady Longhorns, also with a huge victory this weekend. Madison Booker is out there balling. She is going off, so shout out to them. Notre Dame at number 4, the aforementioned FUSC Trojans at number 5. Number 6, you got LSU there. So LSU won the championship, as we remember, a couple years ago. Kim Mulkey has her team raring and ready to go in preseason form. I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but you can see the rest of the bracket there and who stands out in the top 16. But that is your top 8 of that top 16. Moving over to the men's side, let's turn our eyes to the left column here. This was released this weekend as well by the tournament committee. These are their initial bracket rankings, top 4 of each region. You can see in the South region, we have Auburn, Texas A&M, Wisconsin, and Texas Tech. So shout out to Flo at the Bottom Line Sports, who's tuned in right now. Your Texas Tech Raiders are at 4 there, Flo, in the South region right now. We still got about a month to go, or 2 weeks to go till conference tournaments. Midwest region on the top right, Alabama, number 2, Purdue there, Iowa State, and as well Kansas, the Jayhawks there. Bill Self still running strong. In the West region, down on the lower left, you see we got Florida. You see we got Houston. You see we got Kentucky. And you see we got Michigan. A shout out to my boy Clutch B and his Michigan Wolverines out there playing well this year after that tenure of Juwan Howard that I really thought was going to be a much better tenure. But anyways, East region down at the bottom, the Duke Blue Devils, probably the most hated college team in the country, but they got the number 1 NBA pick, Cooper Flag, and they are the number 1 seed in the East region projected right now. Tennessee Volunteers, shout out Knoxville coming in there in the East region as well, followed by Arizona and St. John's. Yes, you see that correct. St. John, Rick Pitino doing the thing. year after year after year. Let them cook, they say. But anyways, that is our rankings, top 16 brackets for the men. So yeah, really, really exciting time coming up with March Madness. So it's my favorite time of year in terms of having so many games in one period that are so exciting. Like March Madness just provides the most amazing. Not all the games are great, obviously, but most of the moments, most of the games, just magical. Then you got games all day, every day for like the first 2 weekends. The first weekend is 4 days in a row, which is just magical. But anyways, so we're really looking forward to seeing all of those teams there. Let's move into the NHL. The Four Nations tournament is going on right now. And so with the Four Nations tournament, if you have been watching the Bottom Line Sports or if you have been watching this program, then you would know I went ahead and explained that this is the top 4 teams in terms of the NHL's rankings of countries. So the United States, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. And the United States has been absolutely dominating this tournament. Absolutely dominating this tournament. They have won both of their games, while the other teams have been going to overtime and having losses. So they are already in the finals, which are going to be Thursday. So who's going to be the other finalist, with the United States? Well, it is their hockey arch nemesis, our brothers and sisters from the North, Canada. Oh, Canada. Yes, Canada versus the United States will be your finals on Thursday night. It is going to be an amazing game. Canada earlier today put away Finland. And since they were able to beat Finland, even though you're going to see a game tonight between the United States and Sweden, that game is for nothing because of the points in the round-robin tournament. Canada has the points to move on to the finals. So Canada versus the United States Thursday night. We look forward to that. And, there's a little bit of contention going on right now. A little bit of possible subterfuge, if you may. We've been talking about it. We know President Trump has been issuing those tariffs out like hotcakes. He like Burger King, baby. Have it your way. That's what he doing. Have it your way, sucker. You get a tariff. You get a tariff. Like Oprah giving out cars in this BI. You know what I mean? So been a little hostilities to the fact where Canadian crowds have been booing the United States national anthem. I was actually watching the game earlier today between Canada and Finland. And at the beginning of the game, when the announcer was introducing the game, he told the crowd to not boo the anthem. He was like, please, everybody, make sure you are respectful of the other nation's anthems. Which, yes, everybody should be. Now, we are all biased towards our own country, but you want to be respectful. But yeah, look, when you have the president of the country below you talking about wanting to make you a 51st state when you've been an independent nation for longer than anybody, long time. Okay, a long time. It's not going to happen. It's wild. We've already talked about the things that President Trump says sometimes when he thinks out loud, and how crazy sometimes those ideas can be. And we'll talk about a couple more of those today. But, we talked about annexing Greenland, making Canada the 51st state, which he was not lying about. He came out in an interview after and said, I'm being completely serious. Like, sir, they do not want that at all. They do not. Will you stop, please? I was thinking earlier in the week, I was like, what is this akin to? Oh, that's right. The board game Risk. I'm like, fool, this is not Risk. You cannot just keep going around taking over things. Anyways, that's for later in the show. I just thought that was funny. But they did boo the Star Spangled Banner in Canada. So, I thought Canadians. Well, I never would have expected that from Canadians, from what I hear for their reputation. I don't know any mean Canadians, so I wouldn't have expected that. But hey, it is what it is. I guess you get fed up enough, you'll do what you got to do. Let's move it on. NBA All-Star Weekend. Were they able to save the NBA All-Star Game? Adam Silver had some ideas. Said he ran it past a bunch of All-Stars. Said he got Steph Curry's advice. You know whose advice he didn't get? Apparently, he didn't talk to LeBron. You know who sat out last night? The self-proclaimed king, Mr. LeBron. We'll talk about that in just a second. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Jaron. Yes, Jaron, the college student from the Bay Area. Shout out to him for winning $100,000. Not only did he say he would help his family, he would also contribute that to his college education and then as well contribute to his community to try to help and serve. So shout out to you, Jaron. Not only did he beat Damian Lillard in a logo three-point contest, so shooting from the logo, which is in the middle of half court and the three-point line, Damian Lillard had to make three. He's also one of the best shooters in the world. So you would expect him to make it before the other guy made one, who is not a basketball player. But lo and behold, I want to think in my heart that Damian probably clanked a couple on purpose just so the kid could win. You don't want to take that away from the kid. The NBA donated $50,000 to both the Damian Lillard's charities anyways, so let the kid have the money. It obviously was to promote Mr. Beast and his new games on Amazon. So, hey, we're trying to get like Mr. Beast over here too. So shout out. But yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good. Shout out to him. I was hoping for him. I was rooting for him the whole time, and he finally hit it at the buzzer. So, Jaron, salute. All right. It was also a wrap for TNT's coverage of the NBA All-Star Game. Next year, NBC gets the rights to the All-Star Game. So this will be the last time we see the inside the NBA crew at the All-Star Game. Kevin Hart gave them a tribute last night, as well as a bunch of jokes, including one about being an adult film director, which I thought was going to get him taken off the air. But apparently he has way too much star power and can say something like that and get away with it. So anyway, so when we're looking at this All-Star Game, let's look at a couple of components here in what they tried to do to make the All-Star Game better. First of all, let's give a shout out to the winners, the Skills Challenge. Team Cavs, the number one team in the East, represented Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley to win the Skills Challenge. They beat the home team Warriors in the finals. Draymond Green had a miserable performance in the finals after having a good performance in the round before. What I want to talk about is the Team Spurs disqualification. This is BS. This is BS. I don't know what's going on here, but if you make rules and someone finds a way legally around those rules, you cannot disqualify them. I'm sorry. No, I am not with this. Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama were disqualified from the Skills Challenge because they were too smart for the rest of the competition. I don't know why no one's thought about this before, because I know I certainly have. I've said this before while watching the Skills Challenge. Why don't they just throw the ball at the rim? It doesn't say you have to shoot to make the ball. It just says you have to have 3 balls go towards the rim, pause. Wow, super reckless. Jeez, holy cannolis. That caught me off guard. They got to go towards the rim. It never says you have to shoot to make. Never says you have to shoot to make. So what did Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama do? Chris Paul was like, yo, son, this is what we're going to do. We just go throw the balls at the rim 3 times, quick as possible, and keep it moving. They had the best time ever, 49.7. But no, they suspended him, disqualified him. I can't believe it. This is BS, NBA. I can't believe that you would suspend people for being more intelligent than you are. Can't believe it at all. Shout out to Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. You know who doesn't get a shout out? You know who doesn't get a shout out for this? The NBA security guard. Whoever that NBA official was on the sideline, this is what happened, y'all. So, as they found out they were being disqualified, my reporter brethren, the great Allie LaForce, was trying to go in for an interview with Chris Paul to ask him what happened. Well, when she did this, some rando, don't nobody know who you are, son. Some rando came in and told her, no, not right now. We ain't going to have none of that. Excuse me? First of all, sir, who are you? Who in the deuce? Who the deuce are you to tell the NBA reporter that she can't do her job in the middle of All-Star Weekend? We want to hear from Chris Paul to hear what happened. We want to hear this. And you out here trying to flaunt some sort of power that you don't have because don't nobody know who your ass is. So first of all, sit your ass down, sucker. We don't need none of you here. Let Allie LaForce do her job. Shout out to her. NBA, y'all BSing for suspending or disqualifying these two from the contest. Moving on. The three-point contest was won by Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat, breaking the chance of a three-peat for the aforementioned Damian Lillard. So shout out to Tyler Hero. That's not why I put my head down. I was about to start talking about the dunk contest, but I forgot about the three-point that I needed to announce the winner there. Now it's time to go into the dunk contest. The question going around everywhere, did Mac McClung save the dunk contest? Did he? A three-time winner of the dunk contest. He came in and gave us some dunks we hadn't seen before. Some we had. He even improvised on Blake Griffin's car dunk and didn't just dunk over the hood, but actually dunked over the whole damn car, which in itself is impressive if you can jump over a damn car without dunking a basketball. That in itself is impressive, and I would have given him a 50 for that alone. But the fact that he dunked the basketball and it was a reverse jam, that was it. As Kenny said for Vince Carter 20 years ago, it's over. Let's go home. It's over. Shout out to Vince, though. They had a tribute, half man, half amazing, when he did the dunk contest, the greatest dunk contest ever, when Vince Carter just went off. Did Mac McClung reach those levels? No, not at all. Not at all. Shout out to Mac McClung, the young G Leaguer coming in, making $100,000 for himself when he makes no money in the G League. So, he makes some money. I shouldn't say no. Doesn't make as much as the league. He's also not in the league, but shout out to him for representing and giving us the show. Because the past few years, the rest of his competition don't even know how to dunk a damn basketball. What are we doing? Y'all can't even, did you practice this beforehand? Or did you just think of what you were going to do? Or y'all so young, you were just playing on NBA 2K dunk contest and you decided that was good enough. What a horrendous contest. It wasn't a contest. Like Kenny Smith said, McClung out there, put some music on for 5 minutes and let him show us his whole repertoire. That'd be better. The only way this improves is if Ja Morant, I'm calling y'all out right now, Ja Morant, Giannis, Levine, Gordon, all of y'all come back out. Zach Levine, Aaron Gordon, both former dunk champions, come out of retirement. Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo last night on X said that they may be willing to do it next year if Mac McClung comes again. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. All five of y'all, let's get it on. That would restore and revive the legacy of the dunk contest. But until you get stars in that dunk contest, it will never, ever be what it was back when Michael and Dominique, MJ and Dominique were battling. Y'all remember that? Ooh, wee. Oh, my goodness. Damn, that was beautiful. But anyways, so what about the game itself, right? This has been, one more thing about the dunk contest, though. Somebody mentioned online Zion Williamson. Sir and or ma'am, he cannot even stay healthy enough to be on the damn court. We don't need him injuring himself in a dunk contest. I want to see him on the damn court first because he's a hell of a player. I did a documentary on him. He's a great player. Anyways, what about the game itself? Will we see more format changes going into the future? James announced, LeBron James, I want to announce this first before I get into the game because he didn't announce till 2 hours before tip-off that he wasn't going to play. Sir, you knew way more than 2 hours before that you wasn't playing. If you're going to be the king of the league, the self-proclaimed king of the league, you need to know that hurts other players. If you would have bowed out 2 days before, they could have given an alternate in there, given another player a chance to get that shine that you've now taken away from them, just for you to sit on the sidelines. In a bland-ass outfit, by the way. Now, I'm a LeBron hater. We all know this. He is one of the greatest of all time. But I'm a hater. We know this on this program. But you can't do that. You can't do that. Anthony Edwards missed the game. Now, they say, they didn't report it till after the game. So maybe, and I don't know the specifics behind that one, maybe it was more of a innocent sort of removal or sitting out. But what LeBron James did is unacceptable because that takes away from the Devin Bookers, Domantas Sabonis, Norman Powell, and many other Western Conference All-Stars that could have been in the game if he would have just said that beforehand. So he ends his 20 consecutive streak appearance. And in case you missed it, the game was a mini tournament, y'all. It was just a mini tournament. So they had 3 All-Star teams, each selected by the Inside the NBA guys, Shaq, Kenny. Shaq had his OGs. Kenny had the Young Bucks. And Chuck had a mix of world and U.S. talent that was both young and old. They also had a Rising Stars team of a lot of young players, G Leagues, rookies, that was coached by the great Candace Parker. Each game was played to 40 points, which amounted to about 15 minutes of play, maybe 10 minutes of play, 10, 15 minutes of play, which is what they were aiming for. They were aiming to make it like 4 quarters of basketball. God bless, this was horrible. This was horrible. Yes, thanks, Pops. Yes, Dad, still sucks. Yes, I agree. Still sucks. Horrible. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this mess. I watched a replay the other day. I found a VHS tape because I'm going through all my old tapes and I'm digitizing them so I can throw them away. And I found an old 1993 NBA All-Star game and I watched it. It was beautiful, static and everything. Beautiful. And during that game, do you know what happened? Well, first of all, I guess, the 3-point line was only invented maybe 7 years before. So it wasn't as prevalent as a shot. But there weren't that many threes. They weren't having a dunk contest. They were all playing defense. They were all hustling for balls, diving on the court. You know what else happened? MJ and Magic Johnson had a duel off with seconds running off the clock in the fourth quarter in a 40-point blowout. Let me repeat that again. Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson were playing defense on each other at the end of the 1993 All-Star game in a 40-point blowout. Do you even think any of these guys, LeBron or any who sat out, didn't even play, or any of the other guys, would have been in there at the end of the game in a 40-point blowout playing defense? No, not even last night in the last game did they play defense. The first 2 games were actually halfway okay because they had younger players pushing the older players. But then you got to the last game, and it was the same old All-Star game. Lobs, dunks, 3-pointers, no defense, ole here, ole there, no mas, Sí, senor. Like, no. It is horrible. That is an understatement. You're right. It was bad. And I don't like the tournament format. That doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it any more exciting. And then you have all these lengthy timeouts in between. Yeah, I like Kevin Hart. I think he's funny. I think he brought a new sort of dimension to the game. He was commentating during the game, which seemed to, liven them up a little bit, make the crowd. Now, SGA didn't like that shit. SGA was like, don't talk to me while I'm trying to play. But come on, SGA. This is the All-Star game. You got to know everything's in fun, and you got to know that this is helping the league and helping your brand. So you can't be upset. You just got to play along because you got to know that that's helping fund your max salary, right? And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. How the players need to be playing a lot harder because they're invested in this league themselves, right? So when you have this happen, and by the way, Shaq's OGs, Shaquille O'Neal's OGs won the championship by beating Candace Parker's Rising Stars 42-35 in the first round, and then beating Team Chuck's International U.S. Stars 40-41, to 25. But this just wasn't good. It wasn't entertaining. It's not something I wanted to sit down and watch. Yeah, watch it because it's, first of all, it's the only thing on. I am a sports fanatic, so that's pretty much all I watch, unless I'm watching movies or something. So I was going to have it on anyways. I was working in the background, editing videos and stuff, but I had it on the TV. But it didn't make me look up that often, unless like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum were in the game, or I was just looking up because I heard a good moment going on. Like it's not entertaining. It's not like it used to be. You got to have defense played. You got to have something that brings the level of competition up. Now, shout out to Steph with the shot, Stephen Curry. You knew he was going to win the MVP because, by the way, he got outscored by JT. Jason Tatum 15-12, but they still gave him the MVP. But that's okay. We'll let you have it, Steph. We'll let you have it. You were hometown. We'll let you have it, but it should have gone to JT. Anyways, what can they do? A great idea has been brought up. My dad says it right here, Pops. Go international versus U.S. That's pretty much the only way at this point. That is pretty much the only way that this gets any better is if you put the internationals squad versus the U.S. squad and have them play for pride. Now, will it eventually devolve into the same thing over time? Probably. But at least for the first few years, it should inspire some healthy competition. So I am totally for the international versus U.S. idea. The only other way you could go would be to pay more money. But at this point, with all the max and super max players that make so much money and don't want to risk the injury, well, of course, they're not going to want to play hard. It makes sense. They're trying to protect their bottom line. They're trying to protect their brand. But it also makes it so it's not watchable. It also makes it so they're hurting their brand because their individual brands are linked with the NBA's brand. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, the only other way would be to up the winnings to like 10 million, like $1 million per person for the winning team. And maybe that way you inspire more competition. But even then, I don't think it would. So the international versus U.S. at this point is really the only idea you can go with. Because you can't run this tournament out there again. They probably will again next year, but I don't advise it. Horrible. Booty juice, as I would usually say. And this is the other thing. Take a page from the NHL. I've heard a lot of people saying this. Thanks, Pop, for the comment. But this is the thing that I need to clarify for everybody. If you watched the Bottom Line Sports, you might have heard me say this during my professor's mixed bag. But the only reason that the NHL is even doing this Four Nations tournament this year is because of the fact they are going into the Winter Olympics in 2026. And so they were trying to have a showcase for that. But next year in 2026, they're going back to the All-Star game. Now, the NHL hockey doesn't have the problem that basketball does. Their games are still good. Now, obviously, it's because it has to be because you're on ice, you're skating fast, and you're hitting each other. You got to be vigilant at all times and playing at a high level there. So I don't think that's ever going to lose its luster. I always think that the NHL All-Star Game will probably be the most hardest played All-Star Game. Maybe not the best. I like MLB the best, but it will be the hardest played. That's for sure. So they can't take a play out of the NHL because the NHL didn't even do that play. I know that's what the media is saying. It's been all around. A lot of people just uninformed on ESPN, on Fox, on all these places. I was watching the game earlier. Just people are just so just ill-informed about this, and the ones in the hockey community, the ones that should be informed. They're going back to the All-Star game. Now, in 2028, they're bringing back the Tournament of Champions or Nations Tournament of Champions. So they're going to bring this back in 2028. But I still think they'll have the All-Star game going with that as well. So, but anyway, just wanted to make sure I clarified that up for everybody here that the NHL did not eliminate their All-Star game. They're going back to it next year. This is just a showcase for the Winter Olympics next year. But if nothing else, there needs to be something more in terms of effort because, as I mentioned earlier, last time I checked the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, players make almost a little below 51% of the revenue that the NBA makes. So if you're hurting the All-Star game by not putting enough effort into the game, which is hurting ratings, which is hurting sponsorships, which is hurting partnerships, which is hurting your dollars, which is hurting your revenue, your ROI, your bottom line, then inherently you're hurting and denigrating your own brand's worth. Because remember, each individual's player's brands are linked to the NBA. Even LeBron James. Now, LeBron James is head and shoulders above anyone else in terms of brand creation, brand marketing when it comes to NBA players. But he still is linked in some parts to the NBA because once he stops playing, yes, he'll be forever a legend like Michael Jordan was. But once you're out of the league and you're out of the limelight and you're out of the spotlight, not everybody thinks about you as much anymore. Right? How's the old adage go? People don't think about you till you're gone. They don't care about you till you're dead and gone. The same thing when you retire from sports. When you're out of the limelight, you don't have as much popularity, as much time to be in the spotlight. But when you do, you need to maximize that. And these NBA players should be maximizing that. They really should. They really should be maximizing the fact that they have a part in this, that their revenues are linked to this, right? No, I agree with you. Yeah. No, I agree completely, Pops. No, I agree. Yeah, international versus U.S. I think you're completely right. That's what it should be. That's the only thing I think that will inspire more confidence going into the future. So now I get what you're saying. I see. Cool. Thank you for that. Clearing that up. But yeah, but thank you for the other thing too, because I got to clear that up for the audience as well. That the NHL Four Nations tournament is not forever. That the All-Star game is coming back next year. And so Giannis likes this idea. Giannis likes it. He said he'll give it some extra juice. SGA, Jokic, Doncic, Wemby versus well, I don't know if LeBron will still be there next year, at least if they do this next year, but I don't know when they'll do this. So Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, who, by the way, doesn't want to be the face, y'all. He don't want to be the face. Leave him alone if he don't want to be the face. He said in the interview he does not want to be the face of the NBA, and I'm not mad at it. If he wants to be Kevin Durant and just go out there and ball and make his money and have a good time, then more power to him. You can't force people to be the face of the NBA. If he says he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, leave him alone. Let him do his thing. Let him cook, as the kids say, and keep it moving. If Wemby or Doncic or can learn a little more English, or maybe they can be the faces. If JT wanted to speak up and be more outgoing, maybe he could. But he seems like he wants to take the Anthony Edwards route, which is fine. That's okay. You don't have to be LeBron or MJ in order to have a successful NBA career. Oh yeah, oh yeah. The U.S. players wouldn't play hard enough anyways, so the international squad would beat them. But also just because the players, I think I agree with you as well. But it would still be fun, and it would still bring out that competition that I think is what the NBA All-Star Game needs in order to be revived. If not, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse, and ratings are going to keep decreasing. Ratings have not been released yet, so tease. Check out the Bottom Line Sports tomorrow night at 8 p.m., and I will give you those ratings for the NBA All-Star Game as well later this week. Make sure that you check out on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special for the huge boxing card this weekend. Rihanna season supposed to be the best boxing card ever, according to our insider and expert Clubber D as well. We will have Josh from 86 Boxing, Skywalker Boxing Media, and hopefully Papi Chunyeo will be able to join us, and we're going to have a huge boxing stream Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're subscribed at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS as well. Please make sure you hit that like button. Got a lot of people in here. Hit that like button for me so we can get amplified in the algorithm. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Draymond Green hated it. Said the tournament was not good. Some of the young players didn't deserve to be there. I'm not going to say who deserves or doesn't deserve to be there. I don't necessarily think you need a squad of rookie and G leaguers. That doesn't really make you look good. I think the best players need to be playing for the whole game. And I agree that the tournament was just not aesthetically pleasing as a basketball fan used to 48-minute games. So anyways, we'll see what happens. We'll see what they decide in the future. But they've got to make some changes. And as mentioned here today, I personally believe the international versus U.S. format is going to be the best way to go about that into the future. All right. Thank you again for everybody tuning in. We are going to move into our entertainment portion of the program again. Thank you. Make sure that you are subscribed and hit that like button. Moving into entertainment. So, Marvel Cinematic Universe is back. Captain America's Brave New World was a runaway #1 hit at the box office globally. It made $192.4 million. Wow. Almost $200 million for its first weekend. That's some star power for sure. Featuring, as always, Marvel always features a lot of famous actors in their movies, and so this one, no less, is going to have a bunch of famous actors, including Harrison Ford, which I was surprised. Now, I am not much of a action comic book movie fan. I'll watch them from time to time. I do like X-Men when they were making them. I watched the first few Spider-Mans. Batman's usually on point. Old Joker's usually good. But anything these days, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, things like, I don't watch these things. Probably the last ones I watched was like Transformers. I like action movies, but they get repetitive a lot of the times, and I'd rather watch something else with more of a storyline. But also, a lot of the comic book movies really follow the same pattern of not stories, obviously, because they're all different stories based off of different characters. But in terms of the way they're filmed, in terms of the bad guy versus the good guy, the outcomes, things like that. So again, more power to you. Obviously, a lot of people went out and loved it, but I was just surprised that Harrison Ford was in this movie when I was reading up about it. I was like, oh shit, Harrison Ford, huh? Obviously, I remember him from Star Wars, and I love Star Wars. Love a good Star Wars movie, right? But that to me is a little different than necessarily maybe the comic book movies. Now, I did like Deadpool and Wolverine. That was pretty good. I wouldn't recommend it to any young people or anyone that doesn't like, vulgar language or things like that, which doesn't bother me. But yeah, if you're okay with all of that, I thought that was, pretty good. But that can be a little harsh. if you're not into that sort of language and sort of imagery, so to say. What else happened this weekend? Saturday Night Live celebrated their 50th anniversary last night. So it was on Peacock. And so you can always go watch the replay if you have Peacock. But 50 years in the making, Saturday Night Live brought a whole bunch of alums on, brought a whole bunch of all of their famous comedians. And it was just, I mean, I saw only highlights. I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing because I have Peacock. So I'll probably actually go back and watch that tonight. But it was a 3-hour special and just featured pretty much all of the famous characters of all time. Will Ferrell was there reprising a lot of his famous sketches. Well, all of them were reprising famous sketches. Even had Meryl Streep there, Woody Harrelson. I mean, it was crazy the amount of people they had. Adam Sandler. I mean, I can't even go through everyone. They had so many people. So if you are a fan of Saturday Night Live, definitely want to go ahead and go check that out. They also, by the way, did a concert to go along with it. So Peacock also has I believe it's a 3-hour concert. It has like Bad Bunny, Miley Cyrus, other people who have performed on Saturday Night Live. That's also another option for you to watch as well. So if you're a Saturday Night Live fan, definitely want to be something that you check out. Now, again, just like the comic book movies and things like that, Saturday Night Live, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. I'll watch it from time to time. I'll definitely watch highlights of the funniest parts. I liked it more back in the day when there were the funnier actors and funnier comedians. I mean, no shade on anybody now. Kenan Thompson been on there for 22 years. Salute to that brother, just killing the game out there. But it's just not something I would tune into every week, but I do enjoy it from time to time. But what I do want to do is go through the top 5. This is courtesy of Den of Geek, denofgeek.com. Shout out to them for ranking the 20 best Saturday Night Live cast members. So any of you Saturday Night Live fans out there, I want you to let me know if this is true. Again, I'm not the biggest watcher of Saturday Night Live, so I can't tell you if these rankings are exactly accurate, but you let me know. At number 5, John Belushi. We all know John Belushi was an amazing comedic actor in general, Blues Brothers, all those good things, and he was early time SNL. Number 4, another early time SNL, Phil Hartman. Yes, he was in a long period of time was he there with SNL. At number 3, they have Bill Hader. I was surprised that Bill Hader was at number 3 considering, he was there for 8 seasons, but he's more of a newer character. I thought that, if any newer characters, maybe a Kenan Thompson or somebody like that with longevity, or even, I don't know who else you would put on there, but maybe someone else that may have been us. But hey, shout out to him. At number 2, Eddie Murphy. Yes, Eddie Murphy, if you did not know, was on Saturday Night Live. Eddie Murphy is one of the funniest people of all time. Saturday Night Live found him as a 19-year-old. Believe me, he still would have been famous anyways, because you're not that funny and never become famous. So he would have anyways, but awesome. Shout out to Eddie Murphy, not Murray, not the baseball player, but Eddie Murphy. Coming in at number 2, Saturday Night Live characters of all time. And number 1, Saturday Night Live characters of all time, ranked by Den of Geek, Mr. Will Ferrell. Now, I, again, am not the biggest fan of SNL, but I've watched enough of it to have seen the majority of the characters and sketches and all the funny sketches at the very least. And I can tell you, in my time of watching funny sketches that were on SNL, I have continually found the funniest sketches to be from Will Ferrell. So much so that the only Saturday Night Live related item I even own is a DVD I bought back when I was in the military that was the best of Will Ferrell Saturday Night Live. And me and shout out the Squad Mob crew, shout out my brothers. We used to watch that and just crack up all the time. The old Prospector, Celebrity Jeopardy, Texas with a money sign. Will Ferrell, he was ranked number one by them. I didn't rank him number one, but I would have to agree because, again, when I think about funny sketches from Saturday Night Live, the ones that I remember most are the ones that Will Ferrell was in, just because they were that funny. So, what about you? What do you think? Do you think those are good rankings from Den of Geek? Will Ferrell number one? Should somebody else have been number one? Maybe even somebody older? Maybe one of a John Belushi or Eddie Murphy. So let me know what you think in the comments. Also, make sure you hit that like button. We are going to move into the best Super Bowl commercials. I know last week I went through the commercials and kind of said, okay, well, these were the ones that the people thought were the best going off. But I wanted to give you my own rankings. I want to give you my own personal rankings. So let's get into it. I'm going to rank these for my top three. I already gave you one of them last week, and because at the time I had missed. Apparently, I didn't watch the whole game in its entirety because I was going from place to place, hanging out with different people. So there were a couple of commercial breaks and things like that I missed while I was walking in between buildings. So I missed this commercial at first. My number one is going to be one that I missed at first, but I found out about it after my show last week because I didn't see it the first time somehow. So anyways, at number three will be the one I mentioned last week, and that was the tie between Pringles and Little Caesars, where Pringles had the mustache and Little Caesars had the eyebrows, and they were all flying around. Corny, but it was funny enough. I had that as my number three. At number two, the Sloth. Coors Slow Monday cracked me up. The Sloth moving at the slow speed chase, tremendous. The slow speed chase was apps 2 miles an hour. Absolutely, I was dying laughing at the Slow Monday. But the one that got me the most, and I don't know if you can actually show commercials on a YouTube live stream video. So I hope I don't get a copyright for this. And if I do, I will delete it. I promise, YouTube. But I have to play this. And most of y'all have seen it already. But I have to play this commercial for you. So I'm going to go to YouTube and I am going to play it for you. And I'm sure you saw this.
Baby, rockin' baby to a kiss from a lime on the bed. Ooh, the more I think of it, stranger I see. Yeah, my flippers got whole Mountain Dew. It slips right on through watershed. There's so much I can tell you, so much he can say. You remain my power, my pleasure, my fame.
Well, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Blast of tropical lime.
Good looking seal.
None of this makes sense.
Oh my God.
If you've been in a
Yo, I cannot. Hilarious. But I've watched that commercial at least probably 50 times this week. And every time it gets funnier and funnier and funnier. Just Seal as a seal in itself is just such poetic irony that it's just amazing. Whoever thought of that? And then, you know what? That's all. Salute. That's all I'm going to say. Salute. That was by far my favorite Super Bowl commercial. Seal as a seal, drinking Baja Blast Mountain Dew. Now, the funniest part is I had never had Baja Blast Mountain Dew, but we were having a little bit of I had one get-together that I had to go to that was over here. So I went downstairs and bought some soda and beer and stuff. And one of the ones I bought, I saw Baja Blast. So I was like, hey, why not? I've never had it before. Let me buy it. So I actually bought it and had it for the first time, and I was like, "Damn, it's actually pretty good." And then I saw the commercial, and it just, first of all, it made so much more sense, but it was then also hilarious. So, anyways, Wes, that was great, tremendous. What else is in entertainment news? Oh, quick TikTok update. So last you heard, Donald Trump put a 90-day stay on TikTok to partially delay the ban in the United States. You know, we've talked about this a few times on this program already. Well, that has now been extended for the next 75 days. The judges have allowed that to go through. So now TikTok will be available for at least the next 75 days for sure on all your apps. So you may use it, you may download it until the 75 days is up. And as always, we'll keep you updated here on the Professor Semanalmente as to what they decide to do with that in the upcoming weeks. But again, for the next 75 days, you have access to that. Also, what happened here? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Also, in another bit of entertainment news, which is likely to ruffle the feathers of Donald Trump, pun intended, Amber Ruffin was selected as the comedian for the White House's press correspondence dinner. If you know Amber Ruffin, she is a great comedian. I think she's funny. A lot of people do not find her to be funny due to the fact that, well, first of all, she's black. Let's just put it that way. But also she talks about a lot of things like social justice. A lot of her jokes are, obviously pro-black and other types of jokes. So a lot of people, especially in the Caucasian realm, don't particularly find her funny. I think she's funny. She's Seth Meyers', she's partners with Seth Meyers. He's like her mentor-mentee relationship. So obviously he finds her funny. Anyways, I don't know that she's the best choice for this, though, if he's the president. And you know how much she's gone in on him and made fun of him and things like that over the years. I was very surprised that this was the choice for the correspondence dinner. And I thought I could not believe it when I read it. And there was some backlash on the conservative sites that were saying the same exact thing. Oh, how could they choose her? They know that, the kinds of jokes that she makes, and she doesn't like Trump. And I agree. I mean, if he's the sitting president, you would think you would at least get somebody that would not be so harsh on him. But we'll see what happens. It should be funny if nothing else. I love to see someone get made fun of, or like a roast. Always good to see a good roast. But anyway, speaking of Donald Trump, let's move it on to our U.S. news for the week. We got our weekly Donald Trump update. So first of all, before we get into that, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other top U.S. officials have met with their Russian counterparts in Saudi Arabia to begin discussing a path towards ending the Russian war in Ukraine. So this is one of the things that obviously has been a big issue in America. Donald Trump did vow, although he did say he'd do it on day one, which I knew was BS. He always likes to talk a big game, and that's one of the things I don't like, because it means you're lying, because you're saying you're going to get it done on day one, but then you don't, and it makes you look like a liar. So it's just, but anyways, he's still at least trying, and we need to get this. Vladimir Putin, you know how much I've talked about the corruption and the stain on the history of the world that this man is creating with this war in Ukraine, similar to the many of the other wars in history that were a dictator trying to take over a smaller country. I didn't say anything. If you thought something in your head, that was on you. But anyways, there was a meeting between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They had a meeting to obviously talk about bringing down the conflict, ending the war. U.S. officials said that they want Europe to assume more control over the security situation. But they're also saying that Ukraine may not gain NATO membership, which could and may be a huge part of this. NATO is obviously going to want the protection. Ukraine is obviously going to want the protection of NATO, so that way they have the protection of the United States, so they don't have to worry about Vladimir Putin doing this again in the future, which it's already done this twice already. Let's not act 3 times, not act like he ain't going to do it again, right? He will. Just like we don't act, just like I give you realism on this program, we act like the Israel-Gaza ain't going to end again either, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit with the things that Donald Trump is proposing. But it's not good for a lot of the people involved, and it involves us because we have to take a neutral position. Well, we're supporting Ukraine, so it's not that neutral of a position. But with Donald Trump in office as president, we now need to take a more neutral position as he tries to be at least sort of amicable with dictators from other countries, including Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un from North Korea, Xi from China, and so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens here. They're supposed to be drawing down, but these are shifting dynamics. We don't know what's going to happen. You see what's happening in Germany right now with the right wing, the extreme right wing, these National Populist Alternative for Germany, or the AfD, are they're set to try to take over power. There are elections on Sunday. Currently, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who is the current chancellor of Germany, has now fallen to 3rd place behind the center-right Christian Democrats and the aforementioned AfD. So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep you updated on Germany's elections coming up soon. But the thing that happens with this is that some type of negotiations are going to happen. And the problem is when you have these sort of negotiations, other things come into play. And one of those things that comes into play is the fact that the U.S. gave a lot of money to Ukraine to help them fight this war. Well, as you know, and again, no matter what your feelings are on him yourself, shout out Adam Hurley for tuning in. Salute from the WNBA, the hairy women of the WNBA, and Adam and Brittany Griner. Fantastic, my friend. That is great work right there. Look, a lot of people like to make fun of the WNBA, but their basketball is good. There's no getting away from that now. Back in the day, you could find, and there's obviously still a quality difference between men and women's basketball, just because inherently, as we know, as anyone knows, especially that's why they don't have men and women competing in sports, because for the majority of men versus women, men, and again, this is not all cases, believe me, I'm not trying to, say anything about anybody, but for the most part, genetics and things like that make men bigger, faster, stronger. So the quality of the game, being able to move faster, being able to do stronger moves, being able to jump higher and dunk and things like that, make it inherently more aesthetically pleasing. But that's not to shade the WNBA at all, because I think the WNBA is great basketball. Women's college basketball, great basketball. And again, back in the day, maybe back in the 90s, early 2000s, yeah, you would say, I don't know that I want to watch this, because exactly what you said, right? They're not dunking. They're laying it up, jumpers, maybe not even threes. So it's a lot different than the NBA game. So I agree. I would love to see them dunk as well, Adam. But unfortunately, that's just life. Most women, unless they're tall enough, like a Brittany Griner or otherwise, are not going to be able to dunk the ball. But would it make the game more exciting? Sure. Do I think that takes away from the quality of the game? I do not. Obviously, it would be more exciting. But again, I think the quality of the players now in women's basketball, both college and WNBA, are at the highest level that it's entertaining to watch even without the dunks. So I do agree with you. It would probably make it more exciting, but I think that it's still entertaining now with what we have. But salute. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button for us, brother, and stay up to date with us. And all of y'all, make sure you subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. There's a handy QR code right up at the top, so you can go ahead and scan that. That'll take you to our link tree. You can subscribe to our YouTube, follow our Instagram, so on and so forth. If you're watching, make sure you hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Boost us up in that algorithm. All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, right, when you talk about negotiations to ending a war like they're trying to do with the Russian war in Ukraine, and the fact that Ukraine's has been supplemented in order to fight this war from the United States, well, then that's when you're going to find people wanting some payback, right? That's when you're going to see people wanting to get something back for America because they gave so much away for the war. And that's where Donald Trump comes into this. So what happened? Let me update you all of this. So as negotiations ramped up in Europe last week over the potential deal to end the war, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent handed an explosive document to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. And it requested, get this, it requested that Ukraine give the U.S. about 50% of the ownership rights to its deposits of precious minerals. Yeah, you heard that right. So in this letter to Zelensky, President Volodymyr Zelensky, President Donald Trump stated that he wants the U.S. to take 50% of their minerals. Obviously, if you know anything about science, minerals are how we create pretty much anything in this world. So key ingredients to manufacturing any high-tech product, right? You need to start with minerals. They have not an abundance of them like other countries, but they do have a good amount, and Trump knows that. So Trump is framing this as reimbursement for the money we gave them for the war. President Zelensky did not sign the document, but he did not exactly say that it was out of the realm of possibility. He said that people would talk about it. Now, do I think, let me get my words here correct before I say anything. Do I think that this is a bad idea? No, maybe 25%. Can we meet in the middle? 50%? You want 50% of their mineral deposits? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's half of a whole country's minerals used, including lithium, titanium, zirconium, graphite, things that make EVs, drones, smartphones, precious minerals worth billions and trillions of dollars. I get we need to get some reimbursement. Look, I'm not even mad at that. We got to get something back, I guess. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot of money, I guess, when you're talking about one country's GDP to another. Although we help out a lot of countries in this world, and if we're not going to do it, we really shouldn't be demanding back money. But I'm okay with him requesting even a portion. Well, 50%, that's way too much. It was even classified by some Ukrainian officials as colonization. And granted, I wouldn't take it that far, but when you're taking 50% of something that is probably worth the most to that country, you may be doing more and maybe worse damage than the war itself did in the first place. Yeah, I mean, like, what? That's crazy. Now, it may behoove Ukraine to at least do a little bit of this. So, like 25% maybe. It actually would probably help Ukraine because Ukraine obviously wants to grow its undeveloped mineral industry. So, yes, it might even help them a little bit, a win-win. But 50%, that's crazy. And the fact that he continues with these statements that make him seem like he wants to play risk, like he's trying to rule the world, like he's trying to take over everything. Greenland, Canada, 51st state. Now you want half of Ukraine's mineral deposits. You want to take over Gaza and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Like, what? These things are just the most malicious, vitriolic, mind-boggling, bonker statements I've ever heard anyone say, much less a president. Like, I get he's trying to advance America, and I'm all for that. And I've actually, in his second term, been in favor of a lot of the things that he's been doing. I have trumped him up, no pun intended, I didn't mean to do that, on this program more than I ever thought I would, because I do appreciate some of the things that he is doing. But this ain't the 1500s. We ain't the Mongolian Empire. There ain't no Ottoman Empire. You can't just go around taking people over. This ain't risk. We can't do that. There are sovereign nations out there. That is against international law. Like, you can't do that. You can't be against what Russia is doing to Ukraine and then do something like that. You can't be against what's happening in Israel and Gaza and then before these things that you're talking about. They just don't comply. It's not. You're contradicting yourself. You can't say you're against the Russian-Ukraine war and then say you want to take over another country, maybe even by military means. It just doesn't jive, brother. Just doesn't jive. Anyways, keeping it moving. For the U.S. to have access to these Ukrainian minerals, it would allow it to lessen the dependence on China, who is our top, obviously, geopolitical adversary, but also one of our top providers of raw materials and minerals. So we'll see what happens. More meetings will come this week. What else is happening in Trump world? Trump administration fired thousands of workers across several government agencies after the deadline for the buyout passed. So even people that did not take the government buyout that he offered, he has now gone on to fire a lot of those people. Now, I feel like this is a little over the top. The executive action, the order was to eliminate most probationary positions, which you may say, cool, well, we don't need them anyways. They're probationary, get rid of them. We're trying to lop money off the top, try and bring back money, things like that. But at the same time, I've been an intern at a company, and I thought about this when I read this story, because I was one time an intern at a financial corporation, a huge financial corporation, had like 1,500 employees across the United States. And they started getting into some, I don't know the exact specifics of everything that happened, but financial issues came about the company and they had to lay employees off. And they started with and laid off interns. At that time, I was an intern. At that time, I was a loved intern who had been kept on. My internship was only supposed to be 6 months. I was in college. It was only supposed to be 6 months for the summer. Actually, it was like 4 months for the summer, something like that. No, because it went from like May to September. It was like 6 months. They kept me on for a year and a half because they appreciated how good of worker I was. But then they had to fire me when the company had to downsize. But that's not fair to me, especially when I'm doing, a great job for you so much that you kept me on longer than I was supposed to be. And the fact that I'm probably doing a lot better than most of the people that you have working there that have been there for a long time and are just kind of coasting. So you, not only that, but you also ruin new talent, because these people that are in these probationary positions, interns, these are younger people. These are people we need for our future. These are people we need to get those skills in those internship positions, in those probationary positions, that will allow us to be able to increase and make America stronger and make America more financially wealthy and great and whatever other adjectives and acronyms you want to use. So if we're going out to the Environmental Protection Agency, firing almost 388 probationary employees, if we're going to the Department of Health and Human Services and telling them to slash 700 probationary employees, we're getting rid of a lot of youthful talent, getting a lot of good, what could be scientists, presidents, Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer Prize winners. Like, these are people that could be amazing, but we're getting rid of them at such an early age just because we want to cut funding from some of these organizations because we may think, or some people may think they're corrupt or not, whether that be Elon Musk and Doge or whoever it is. Even listen to Steve Bannon, who warned Republicans not to cut too deep. People rely on services like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Even Trump supporters do, just like the Biden-Harris supporters do as well. The whole country does. So now some of these, there's been a couple lawsuits. We talked about that. A couple judges tried to ban them from having access to the confidential information, files of employees, things like that. Another judge on Friday came back, said no, they'll allow it. They've been going back and forth, but during that time, places like the Energy Department and the Nuclear Security Administration had to go back and rehire people. The Nuclear Security Administration went back and rehired U.S. nuclear weapons program workers. Why are we getting rid of U.S. nuclear program workers? Like, that should be somewhere that should be ultimately safe, essential personnel. We can't be getting rid of the nuclear scientists. That's who we need. Like, what are we doing? all because of broad firings that maybe have not targeted those people, just targeted agencies in general. And that's the problem that comes into play when you have this sort of Doge thing. I'm not against cutting the fat from the government. Please do. The government wastes so much money, it's unbelievable. But at the same time, once you start doing things, same thing with the immigrants, getting rid of the immigrants. Well, the problem is when you, and not a problem per se, I want all the criminal immigrants gone and out of America. But when you do that, inherently, some good people are going to be put out as well. When you do a broad firing of government employees, you're going to lose a lot of youthful talent because it's just broad swath firing. So I just wish things were a little more targeted from President Trump. I just wish he were a little more targeted with his executive actions to make sure that we're not taking away from the progress of this country, from people that could be very useful, that we are leveraging the smarts and intelligence of this country. Right? Now, most of his cabinet picks have been approved. Senate Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been approved. Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, approved. Y'all know I had some questions about that, seeing how she has some Russian state ties, allegedly. I will tell you, Russian state papers are very fond of her. So I don't know for sure, but I had some questions to that one, but they approved her. So we'll see what she does. Hopefully she does not prove me wrong or prove me right, rather. Kash Patel for the FBI, another one I had questioned. This is a former podcaster who turned into part of Trump's last administration. After he got in his good graces, and so it's like a lot of them again just do not necessarily have the right experience, or also may have bad connections as well. I'm not going to get into exactly what was happened, but allegations are they found out that Kash Patel has served as a paid agent to the nation of Qatar and did not identify himself under the Foreign Services Registration Act. Again, all allegations, but this is what has been alleged. Other allegations having to do with Russia and China. So we have to be careful with these people that we're putting in charge of our nation because, I remember when Biden was in and everybody was talking about, the Biden family and him and Hunter and how they took money in Burisma and Ukraine and all this stuff. But then the Trump supporters failed to also acknowledge that the Trump kids got plenty of money from not only China and other places, but also Saudi Arabia as well. And now even President Trump is meeting with tech executives in Miami this week in a summit that's being hosted by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. So I don't want to hear anything anymore from anyone. I don't want to hear the people on their high and mighty about whose children is making money off of who, where, when, and why, because I've told y'all plenty of times on this damn program, all politicians are scum. All politicians. Shout out my boy Francis Long. Prayers up for the Long family. All politicians. Liars, cheats, and scums. Woo! All of them. They're all out to make themselves better and their families better, and all the kids are doing that. If you think every president and their family ain't made money off other countries, you are blindly mistaken. And I don't want to hear all these sports people high and mighty, or all the and I say this with all due respect, because I am a veteran. I was in the military when 9/11 happened. I respect all the people that lost their lives that day. But a lot of times the 9/11 Foundation has gone after Live Golf, in the PGA Tour. Remember, I did a story on this because that's how I know this. I did a story on The Mind of the Professor. They were butting heads and were saying, Live Golf, you're taking the blood money of Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Okay. I don't want to hear anything anymore about blood money from anyone, from any side of the aisle. If President Trump is going to a summit hosted by the Saudi Arabia Wealth Fund, specifically the PIF, I don't want to hear anything from anybody. Don't anybody ever say anything about whose kids are making money, whether Biden's kid, Hunter, whether the Trump kids, Don Jr., whoever, they all do. They're all making money off of other countries. That's what they do. Politicians. who can pad my pockets so I can make the most money. My bad, Pops. I missed out on your comments. I was looking at my notes. But you say those aren't negotiations of sham. Yeah, probably. You know, like we said, President Trump is trying to become friendly with Vladimir Putin, with Kim Jong-un, other people of that ilk, dictators and things. So, you know, it could all be just a plan to take over Ukraine. You never know. He has no behalf. You're right. Speaking on any nation whatsoever. You're right. There is international law. Unless a nation is not sovereign and is held by another nation, if they are a sovereign nation, which most nations are in this world, then international law prevents you from taking over any countries. This is not risk. You can't do that. So that's not going to happen. Yeah, and I talked about this last week. I know, you know, you weren't watching, well, a couple weeks ago, you weren't watching when I talked about this. I agreed with the tariffs. I completely agree with the tariffs. I think that we should use our power as America to charge tariffs. But the problem is that when other countries fight back, which they are wont to do, you can't back down like President Trump did. You can't say, oh, no, wait a second. We're going to delay these tariffs on Mexico, on Canada, on China for 90 days. Wait a second. I just wanted to announce it to make myself look good. Now I'm going to pause them. No, because then that makes you look weak when you go back on your word. If you're going to do it, which I agreed with at first, do it all the way. 75% tariff. You don't like it, you don't get nothing from America. Too bad. That's what I would do. I should not be the president, but you see what I'm saying? Yeah, inflation's a bit, you know, well, he also said he was going to, you know, bring down the price of eggs on day one. I'm going to end the Ukraine war. It's the big mouth, loud personality, the lies. That's what confuses me. If he would just be more straight up and real with everyone, he would have a lot less problems and a lot more fans. Common sense is sometimes there, sometimes lacking. Yeah, we always got to consider the source. Number one, you know, I check all my sources on this program. Cut the pipeline. You know, I am not. Again, I am all in favor of of trimming the fat in the government. I believe the government wastes entirely too much money. I've said that for years on this program, on this podcast, on this network. I worked for the government for 10 years. I saw the waste of money that they did. I'm a veteran. I still get health care from the VA. Just little things like the VA will send me a big ass mail package for one small bottle of medicine. And I'm like, you couldn't have just put that in a real small package? Did you have to get the bigger package and waste all that money and material? Like just little things like that. The government does that over and over, wasting paper, stuff like that. But I agree with this too. Not a business. You got to be targeted. Yeah, it's cool to make cuts. Yeah, it's cool to get rid of government waste. Yeah, it's cool to efficientize the spending like Elon Musk is trying to do. But it's not a business, and you can't make overall cuts, broad swaths of cuts that end up hurting people or hurting us in America because we're getting rid of prominent or necessary talent. Yep. There's going to be a lot of people that are not necessarily qualified for positions, as we've talked about on this program, but also people that may have some shady ties as well that we've mentioned on this program. And if you have ties with any adversaries, you should not have any cabinet position. That's my personal opinion, and one that I think should be held to. And that will help the economy. It should help the economy, hopefully so. Obviously, the bird flu is really what's putting the pressure on our eggs, not Donald Trump's policies. But, you know, again, it's just a loudmouth. Oh, I'm going to stop this on day one. Well, sir, you know you can't do that. You know that's physically impossible. So the problem is when you make those bold declarations and then you can't follow through, again, it just makes you look like you're not following through on your word, and it makes you look weaker. So, I mean, that's just, you know, again, we'll see what happens. But right now, that's what's kind of going on in the Donald Trump administration so far. Oh, one last thing. The Justice Department has asked the judge to drop the corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. This is, again, related to Donald Trump. Eric Adams went down and kissed the ring. He went down to Mar-a-Lago. He groveled. He begged. He could keep his job. So Donald Trump got the case thrown out. I mean, it's pretty easy to see. I'm not, you know me, I'm a centrist. I am a moderate. I'm not a conservative. I am not liberal. I do not like either party. I am right in the middle. I don't ascribe to a party. But this is clear as day to see that Donald Trump got that taken away for Eric Adams. But Eric Adams, since he started, and I'm not in New York, I'd have to ask my friends that live up there. And it seems like a lot of shady things have happened in New York since he was president. And again, all politicians are shady. So I'm not going to act like Andrew Cuomo was better than he was before. But Andrew Cuomo wants back in the game. Yes, he put out some campaigns this weekend, some campaign messaging. So we are going to see Andrew Cuomo try to take his position back from Eric Adams in the next election. Last but not least, wrapping up our U.S. news today, we have a serious talk to have here in a second. Let me announce this news story first. Search for members of the cult Zizian group, Zizian, following a series of violent incidents across multiple states. The FBI conducted a search earlier this month in a wooded area near Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the group, the Zizian group, had previously rented properties, and this effort follows a deadly shootout that the Zizians had with Border Patrol officers in Vermont that left one agent dead. The Zizians, who are led by 34-year-old Jack Ziz, is his nickname, Lasorda, who uses female pronouns and allegedly faked a death in 2022, are linked to at least 6 deaths in 3 states. The group, composed mainly of young computer engineers, young computer scientists, and known for veganism and anarchist beliefs, the members often wear long black coats and have been involved in protest and violent confrontations, including an attack on a landlord in California and a double murder of a couple in Pennsylvania. What? Okay. Let me have a serious talk with everybody watching this program right now. If you watch this program, if you watch this network, you will know I'm a Christian. I love me some Jesus. Not over the top hellfire and brimstone, but enough to know that we should love and help our fellow man and woman. Right? Easy enough. Cool. Be nice to everybody. Help people. Easy. There's a difference between religion and a cult. And I know a lot of people like to say religion is a cult. And while a lot of times I can ascribe to when people think religion is a work, because it was created in the following or remembrance of a god, a person, a prophet, a demigod, whatever the people that consider that person to be. But religions are established by people who want to establish a way to follow, and for instance, Christians, they built churches to celebrate Jesus, right? Any other religion you look at, they build temples, mosques, churches, buildings to celebrate their leaders. A cult is a lot different. A cult is built by the leader. If you have some guy who's recruiting you to join him in a mission of anarchist beliefs and all this other crazy shit, you're in a cult and you need to back it on up. Okay? No one should be in a, this is the 2000s. How are you in a cult? Especially intelligent people. How can such intelligent computer scientists, engineers be brainwashed into being in a cult? Like, okay, I get it if you want to believe in a religion and you want to follow a person and that religion was created around that person or that God, perfectly fine. I get that. But a cult is actually built by the leader themselves, by the person who wants to be followed. That's how you know it's wrong. If someone is building something for you to purposely follow them, run the other way. It's a cult. Anyways, that's enough about that. That's just my PSA for the day. Finally, let's move into world news before we get out of here for the evening. Obviously, a little bit more of a lengthy session today. We had a lot to talk about, but I appreciate y'all staying tuned in. Please make sure y'all subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS on YouTube. Use that handy QR code up there. And as well, please make sure you hit that like button if you're watching right now. That'll help us out in the algorithm, help us get out to more audience. I really appreciate it. It is free, so go ahead and help us out. That being said, moving into world news. All right, Israel, Hamas, Gaza Strip ceasefire. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Last week, the Israeli troops withdrew from the Gaza Strip, the Netzarim corridor that divides the northern and southern parts of Gaza, as to the ceasefire agreement with Hamas, the terrorist organization. Israeli forces are now limited to the southern area near Egypt's border and a buffer zone to the north and the east. The ceasefire began on January 19th, and in its first 42-day phase, they are releasing hostages on both sides with the withdrawing of the Israeli troops. Hamas has been gradually reducing hostages. As I told you, remember, the hostages are exchanged in a military to civilian ratio. So they released one Israeli military member for every, I think it's like 10 to 12, 15 Hamas civilians. So far, 16 hostages had been freed Israeli hostages had been freed in exchange for 566 Palestinian prisoners. So you can see how that ratio works there. It's a little less. It's an 8-1. No, wow. No, that's about yeah, okay. Yeah, about a 25, 30-1 ratio, something like that. Anyways, negotiations for a second phase are underway in Qatar to extend the truce and secure the release of more hostages. Obviously, challenges are going to happen. This is a long-term agreement. This can dissolve at any point. Violence can start again at any time. We know this goes hundreds and thousands of years back into the ancient days that this land has been under contention for different countries. So we can't think that it's over yet. We've just got to hope that hopefully they can end this and find some peace over there separately. Neighboring Lebanon is forming its first full government in 2 years, so we'll see what happens there. But 3 more Israelis were to be released this past weekend, so hopefully everything so far is going on the right track. President Trump had issued an ultimatum last week that if Hamas did not release the hostages like they were supposed to, that all hell would be to pay. I agree with him there. Can't say anything about that. That's something that needs to happen. Obviously, we need to get rid of any terrorist organizations around the world. In Sudan, the Sudanese army is close to recapturing the capital of Khartoum, which is the biggest advance since fighting broke out between rival factions in April of 2023. So over 2 years, there's been a civil war in Sudan, and this has caused over 100,000 people to now be in famine conditions, lacking food, lacking water, lacking all the necessary needs that they have. And there's an issue that also comes into play here, and that's when Elon Musk and Doge and President Donald Trump decided to get rid of or cut a lot of the USAID. That meant a lot of aid to overseas countries got cut. I was watching a story of how a camp of refugees in the Philippines that are about 30 miles from the nearest city had a refugee hospital that all the doctors were pulled out of and supplies cut off from being delivered to that hospital because of the USAID funding being cut. And that's horrible. We cannot fool our promises to people from other countries. Yes, we don't need to pay for every country and all their stupid needs. I agree there's a lot of stupid things that are wasted on, but for people's health, for people's livelihoods, if we want to be the power of the world, the leader of the free world, if we want to be the America that everyone looks up to and is the world power, we have to help those people we said we would help. And pulling aid from refugees is horrible, diabolical, vitriolic, malicious work. and it needs to be stopped. What else? Also, President Trump said he wanted to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. I'm not going to repeat what I said earlier. You cannot just take and displace people. It's basically ethnic cleansing. You cannot just go and take people from their home and move them somewhere else. All right, that's happened too much in this world history. Think about slavery. How horrible was that? Right? That's akin to this. That's the same thing, man. You can't just move. I get it. I get what he means. I really do. It's hard to understand under the gruff personality, but I get what he's saying. You're not going to be able to build that rubble back up. It's going to be very, very hard. And this could all happen again, which is one reason we shouldn't even be going in there at all, trying to build anything up. Donald Trump said he didn't want to be a nation builder. This is one of those times we should not, because it could happen all over again and we'd be wasting money. But you can't do this. You can't just move and displace people out of their homes if they want to stay there. And those people want to remain there. Whether you agree with them or not, whether you think that's smart or not, it doesn't matter. That's their land and they can do whatever they want. And if they feel they want to stay there, they can do that. And we have no right, as was mentioned earlier by my pops, he has no right to speak for other countries and what they can and cannot do. It's against international law and it's not going to happen. And the fact that these things even come out of his brain sometimes hurt me. Remember when he said they were going to look at injecting bleach into the veins during COVID? I watched that press conference. I remember vividly every single word that was spoke. I remember the horror on that lady's face when he said that. Wow. Anyways, appointment viewing, Donald Trump, that is what you are. Moving on, Argentine President Javier Milei, excuse me. What does he have in common with Haley Welch of the Hawk Tua podcast? You better talk to her if you're going to hawk to her. Spit on that thing. Look, there's too many meme coins going around. I had a segment on this a few weeks ago. I told you to not buy meme coins. Don't do it. Don't buy anything that has a funny face on it. If it's not Bitcoin, if it's not Ethereum, if it's not backed by the blockchain, Solana, something like that, you don't want anything to do with it because you're probably going to get rug pulled and look like an idiot. And this has happened over and over and over and over, and people just keep freaking investing in this stupid crap. First, the Hawk Tua girl did it. She released a meme coin. All y'all fools bought it up to the tune of millions of dollars. She rug pulled that, or her crew. She said she don't know nothing about it. Her financial people rug pulled that, and y'all lost all your money being stupid. Then we saw when President Trump got elected, he had his own meme coin. Ivanka came out the next day, the first lady, with her own meme coin. Now the Argentine, at least they didn't rug pull theirs. Thank God our president and our first lady did not rug pull theirs. Thank God for that, because this guy's a jackass. Argentine president put out the Libra meme coin and said it was a private project dedicated to the growth of the Argentine economy. But only hours later, and after it had risen to $4.4 billion, it crashed by 95% of the value. And the president then deleted his X post and said he was not familiar with the project. Sir, that might be the biggest hacking I've ever seen in my life. Are you telling me you got hacked? Are you telling me you got hacked? I don't know about that. I don't know about that, buddy boy. I don't know about that. You telling me you got hacked? That's the only way I can accept that. And I can't accept that because that's too big of a hack. So you mean to tell me you put out a meme coin, rug pulled it from your own people, from your own country? I've used this word a lot today. That is malicious. That's on another level of you belong in hell type shit. Like what? Wowzers. We'll see what happens there. Lawmakers are looking to impeaching the Argentinian president now for this action. And finally, before we get you out of here today, one last piece of world news last week, the Future of AI conference in Paris. World leaders, CEOs gathered for the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit. They were addressing three big issues. DeepSeek, the Chinese company that we talked about in this this program a few weeks ago. They're going to be talking about how China was able to scale their AI to such massive heights at a fraction of the cost, and talk about AI governance. Also, President Trump has announced he wants the United States to be the world capital of artificial intelligence. So Vice President J.D. Vance will be looking into that, and also the overregulation attempt. Finally, safety, AI safety. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman reportedly issued a warning, not about risk, but to widen their mindset for growth and opportunity, trying to avoid conflicts and being able to scale our AI and our intelligence in a much quicker, much efficient and effective fashion, which I completely agree with. So I think that's really good. Obviously, you all watch this program, you know how big we are into AI here. I use AI for all of my clients. I use AI on a pretty much daily basis, mostly. Sometimes every other day I use it. I have it open on my screen right now because I'm going to have it help me with some video editing, as OpenAI ChatGPT actually added to Script, which I have a membership to. So I'm going to start to create some AI videos and see how that works tonight. I'm going to play around with that. So yeah, AI is big for us, y'all. Yes, robots are going to take over the world. I do joke around about that. It is not a joke. It is completely true. But for now, until that happens, until the AIs make us their servants, like Planet of the Apes type style, AI is good for us. It helps me, 10 times my business, helps automate work, and I'm sure it can do the same for you. If you need any tutoring or teaching in AI, I do offer tutoring and teaching in not only digital marketing, but AI as well. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it as always. Thank you, Pops, for tuning in. My director. I don't know why I'm having trouble with words tonight. I need to jump off here. My program director, my mother, my beautiful mother, helped me out there as well. My sound. Thank you, everybody, for helping me out with that earlier as well. That being said, again, make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLAND. BUDS. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Please help us out. We are at 145 subscribers. That QR code up top, that will help you get there to subscribe. So again, thank y'all very much. And we will see you next week. I am Omar, the Professor Fonseca, and this has been the Professor's Semanalmente, which again, just marks. Just weekly for you marks, just means weekly. So peace out. Subscribe to Ball and Buds. Holla. 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist. Yo, I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Y'all better let them know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor.